What's up, everybody? This is Chris Schwartz, your host of Fuel, and I'm here with our guest today, Chris Raab. Chris, how are you, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of you may know Chris as Raab himself, right? Simply put, from the Jackass show, CKY. You've done the Jackass movie. You were in the show on MTV,
Yeah,
and
Viva La Bam. Yep, bunch of
yeah, man, go ahead, fire away.
I'm like an MTV whore that just ends up doing everything they've got, whatever they've got this week. I'll be on 16 and Pregnant in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. No, thanks for having me on. It's cool. It's good to be chatting with you, and I know it's good to meet you. Like how we got together from shooting some stuff for your company, and yeah, man, it's cool. It's crazy where the camera has taken me, and like all the different worlds that I kind of get to enter from doing camera work and stuff like that. I got my start when I was younger, being in front of the camera, and then I drifted into doing the camera work myself, being an operator and cinematographer and all different types. I did focus pulling, and I slapped slates and all that kind of stuff. As I kind of worked my way through the camera department, but yeah, joined joined IATSE, the local 600 camera union out in LA, and worked a lot on narrative shows and feature films. But I got my start in like reality television as far as in the camera department. Did that docuseries, those kind of things. When I was young, I grew up in Westchester, Pennsylvania, not too far from where you grew up. And we just started out kind of,
Can I
yeah,
doing dumb shit? Is that kind of
yes. Hey, listen, it was highbrow stuff that we were doing.
Yeah. Trust me, I was highly sophisticated back in that day, watching you guys with this,
right.
Executed to perfection to entertain, to use the pun, jackasses, like myself and everyone else. So, I mean, dude, kind of growing up, especially even, I'm 42, around the same age, right? Yeah. So people listening, if you're kind of in that age, I mean, most people know about Jackass and, Viva La Bam and, all these crazy spin-off shows that, that they came out with. But, for those of us that are kind of hyper local that are listening, like I'm 20 minutes from Westchester. So it was like even more of the buzz, right? You're like, oh my God, they're so-and-so saw, Raab and Bam out in, Westchester. So it was like really hyper local. And then, so we started to, at least with like my crew, like get into like, I don't even know where the fuck you found videos back in the day, but like Napster, I don't even know, like wherever you found like file sharing. And we would grab like the CKY videos, which, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they were kind of like the, before Jackass and a little bit less polished, like probably, when you guys started messing around. So we found like all the crazy CKY videos, and so it was pretty wild stuff, dude. And one of the things, Chris and I have gotten to know each other from his company, where we shoot video and all kinds of productions for my company. And that's Green Gate Films. So Chris and I are just kind of, shooting footage, making, this awesome show that we're shooting for CNBC. And I like the name, just it's a unique name. We're in the same area. And I'm like, wait a minute, were you the guy? Like, we start talking and I'm like, holy shit, this is Raab himself, right? So,
yeah. It's so funny too, I think, because it's been a while since I've been on TV. I've been behind the camera for a long time now, and sometimes when you bump into people, they'll go, "Hey, how do I know you?" Like,
right.
Did we work together? And you're like, "Nah, I've never met you before," or whatever. And
sure,
and it's always such a weird thing because you're not gonna go right out there and be like, I was on TV, so you're like, so you're just kind of like, no, and then someone will go, did you go to Westchester? Like, what college did you go to? Or, and you're like, and roundabout finally gets out there like, oh well, I
Yeah.
did do this stuff, and then and it's always funny because sometimes, especially when you're in like a professional setting, like with with you, it's like you're a
Yeah.
mortgage broker, and it's like legit professional thing, and it's
Yeah.
like
Thank you.
here's the guy that crapped all over himself running down the street, so it's it's like, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
making
Yeah. Let me wash my hands.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
so
yeah, but
um,
we kind of like, had done a couple shoots, and then just like, started making small talk, I guess, and figured it out. And it was, yeah, it was really cool to kind of get to talk about, your experience and going through everything, with the show, and obviously everybody's, taking their own path. And there was a lot of challenges that went with, partying your ass off, doing drugs, just
yeah.
having a shitload of money thrown at you to like go act like an idiot, right? Like,
Yeah, especially when you're 20 years old. It's hard to figure like, I should be investing in my future.
yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
should be invested in this pile of cocaine that's in front of me right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of the world I lived, yeah, when I was young, for sure.
Yeah, and it was encouraged, right? Like the dumber shit that
Absolutely.
you did, the more wild and crazy it was. You had people on the other end that were like, "Cool, do more of that." Like,
Yeah,
not,
exactly.
not that any of those people were looking out for your well-being. Not,
Oh, they're not.
yeah, no, yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
was gonna say it's such the cliche story. I mean, in terms of like any rock band, any
right,
person, actor, whoever, or for in our case, dipshit gets attention like that. They want you to be drunk and high and all those things because it's easier to manipulate and control you in that form.
sure,
So you learn that later as you get a little older, but in the time you're like, whatever, I'm some kid from a small town and I ended up on TV, and this is so, like, all of a sudden I'm the popular kid that's getting asked to the dance when when we were kids,
right,
like, no one's going to homecoming with me, like,
yeah, right,
and then now all of a sudden everyone wants to know what you're doing, what's happening in your world, and
yeah,
it's intoxicating, in more ways than one, for sure.
sure. Yeah, and that was like what you and I got to talking about, right? Because I mean, you were hanging out with, all of these guys, right? They were pretty, like, everybody was going through their own journey
Yeah.
at 20, 25. I mean,
Yeah,
Bam, Knoxville, Steve-O. I mean,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was just kind of like, well, the story of like CKY was a bunch of, people from Westchester, and Bam was basically like the ringleader of that and putting together a video. And his, I think sort of the way it happened naturally was that his dad had bought a video camera when we were young because Bam was a real good skateboarder. Like, he stuck out at an early age. When we were 10 years old, he was jumping off the roof into the half pipe and like doing
just,
crazy stuff. And like, so his dad had a video camera to film this, like, kind of the sponsor me tape, because back in the day
yeah,
you'd like submit a sponsor me tape to different companies and stuff. And he started getting flow, they call it, from the local skate shop, Fairman's, and was getting free skate decks and shirts and shoes and things so that he could skate. And because you're going to rip through a board, rip through your shoes, and then all of a sudden you're not going to skate because you don't have a board or whatever. So Dave
right,
Fairman was huge to all the local skaters and everything. He was amazing, basically the guy that made it happen so that kids could have an opportunity to improve and just kind of nourish their abilities. And yeah, Dave Fairman was huge on that. And there's no coincidence that there was multiple professional skaters that came out of the Westchester area, because of that. And so, but because of that, Bam had the video camera, and we would start filming stupid things aside from skateboarding, and that stuff started to add up. And it was one of his sponsors, Landspeed, that wanted to put out a skate video. And he was like, well, I have like my skate part, I have Maldonado's skate part, I have Kerry Getz' skate part and like, and some stuff from Tim O'Connor and like other things. And he's like, I can do that. And he's like, and then I have a whole bunch of random like nonsense. And so basically he put that together and added in all the funny like prank calls Brandon was doing, the stupid stuff I was doing, like knocking stuff off the shelves at the grocery store, and like just dumb, like kind of precursor to jackass stuff. And put that video together for Land Speed. And then and that's what ended up being put out in a skate shop and started kind of generating some buzz. And simultaneously there was the Big Brother Skate Magazine, which was basically like the Bible for the kooks, you know, like all the outliers, skaters that were freaks and into like just crazy things aside from skating too. And that was Jeff Tremaine and Rick Cossack and Dave England worked there, and then Knoxville started working there as one of the contributing editors, like one of the guys writing stories and stuff. And so Big Brother Skate Magazine had done a video as well, and they had like, I remember seeing, it was like a guy, like they like bet him to eat a pile of dog shit for like some free trucks, you know, for his skateboard, and he did it. And they would do like stuff like that. And Knoxville actually went out and did that whole self-defense, like the shoot yourself with mace, shoot yourself with a stun gun. He actually shot himself with a 38 gun with a bulletproof vest on, which was gnarly.
Jesus.
Yeah, they you can see it in the Big Brother documentary that they did called Dumb. It's on Hulu or whatever, but that kind of explains the other half of what Jackass was. And it was the CKY guys and the Big Brother guys joined together, and that was all masterminded by Jeff Tremaine and Knoxville, and then also Spike Jones. Those three guys, they made Jackass happen, but it was a collaboration of the CKY guys and the Big Brother guys that they brought together to make that happen. But yeah, it just started to get all this recognition, and it just kept building up. And it's like, man, you never knew that just the stupid stuff we were filming on, you know, on the weekend. And even we would skip school and film it, you know, in high school and stuff. Right. And who knew that stuff we were doing just to make each other laugh would end up turning into what it is. I mean, for a little shameless plug here, I was one of the camera operators on the new Jackass Forever movie, and that came out in #1 in the box office, and it's crushing right now. And it was awesome to be a part of that and to see that. And they threw me in the end there for a little nod to me from being there from the beginning and that kind of stuff. And it was cool. It was super funny, and it's you know, all these years later having success again at the box office. So it's pretty neat.
Damn, dude, that
have been a part of that ride.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you know, I think that ride has taken people like down some different paths, right? Not everybody was probably you know, at the premiere and part of the group, right? Like that journey in life, for lack of a better word, like sent some people off the fucking rails, right? Like,
yeah, I was one of them for sure. And like, you know, it's real easy to look back and tell you the highlight reel and say how great and wonderful it was. But for sure, it took me to some dark places. I mean, I'm, you know, myself, I'm you know, 12 plus years sober. I had some drug and alcohol issues, and you know, and I got help from a 12-step program and continue to do that work. And I continue to help others get sober and do that stuff because it's very important to me. And also because I am someone who struggles with that stuff, and I have to keep treating that disease of alcoholism. And so that's what I do. But I'm one of the fortunate stories that made it out alive and you know, and do the work that I do to continue to have a good life afterwards. But yeah, I mean, you know, we lost Ryan from drinking and driving and stuff like that. And you know, and Bam's you know, struggling pretty hard with the stuff that he's doing. And it's, you know, it's hard to watch. And you know, Steve-O struggled for a good long while, and same with Novak. And you know, and fortunately for Steve-O, Novak and myself, we're all sober and living a good life. Some of the other guys, you know, what was always funny to me was like Knoxville or let's say, you know, Aaron or whoever, you know, it was like they could like party like hard or whatever at that period of time and then just like naturally grow up like most people do, you
Right.
know. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I always remember being jealous of that because I couldn't. I just kept, I have that addiction. So I just like keep going hard, 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 and like take it all the way into the ground where like they were like, dude, I mean, we had a blast. Okay, like get it together, you know. And you're like, well,
Right.
I don't have that off switch that they seem to have, you know.
Yeah.
And fortunately though, you know, there's only you know, a few of us that actually do struggle with the addiction issues. The others were able to, like I said, have a good time, enjoy it, and then naturally sort of grow up, you know. And not, I don't say necessarily grow up, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah. Just
they were progress and kind of evolve into the next stages of life. And for me, I sort of got stuck there in a bit of an arrested development for a while and just kind of,
yeah.
you know, had to work through that. But so, yeah, so there's definitely, we always talk about it. It is like the specific, like behind the music or true Hollywood story. It's pretty cliche in that sense that like, you know, our one buddy died. There's big issues and fights and arguments about all these things. There's financial issues. There's some people get more than other, and there's all that. Like if you really wanted to explore it, we're no different than anybody else that got some notoriety. You know, because you think about people that do succeed in the entertainment business are just regular people from small towns usually, and then yeah, they'll live in LA or claim LA, but usually it's like, oh, I'm from like so and so Nebraska, and I ended up,
Right.
you know, getting this, and like, and it's a hard adjustment, you know, to then all of a sudden have people know who you are, want a piece of what you're doing, and all that kind of stuff, and it's hard to sort of adjust to that. And some people don't do it so well. I know myself, I didn't do it so well, and I think that's why I sort of shied away. You know, it was like when there's opportunity for more notoriety and these things, I started to get kind of like paranoid and weird and want to be out of that. I don't want to be known anymore. I don't want to be a part of this. And like, I started to get like that late in my 20s.
Right.
It's like, man, I just want to go back to being the kid from a small town, man. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, and
Which is, I imagine it's hard to do, right? So just to kind of give some perspective, I mean, for those that are local listening, you know, or not, it's, you know, Westchester, it's just a small suburb, just like any other,
yeah,
suburban kind of middle class area, right? Upper middle class, maybe depending on
yeah,
where you are, but like it's not LA, right? It's not even
right.
anything close. So like take that and give us like a quick, like, what experience did you have that was like, holy shit, I'm doing this, like we're driving in a Ferrari, we're doing this, I'm out here with these people, like what did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, my story is I got kicked out of public high school and I ended up going to Church Farm School, which was a small private school. But to say that, like I graduated with like 21 kids, you know.
Right.
So like my senior year was like 21 kids, and you go from an area where you got your class of 21,
Yeah.
and you're in a small little, you know, like I said, suburban town, and then all of a sudden you're kind of thrust in front of everybody in their living rooms on television every Sunday. And then you're on a bus, you're traveling around doing promotional tours with rock bands and things like that, and all these random people in small town America everywhere know who you are. It's a strange feeling because you're like, I went from this total like nobody in a small town to then all of a sudden people recognize you, know you, do those things. And it's strange in a sense that it can create some paranoia and like, hey, why do you want to talk to me? Like now all of a sudden I'm
Sure.
interesting, and there's all those kind of aspects of it too. I think it's weird though. For me, I blindly went into it, and those thoughts and all that stuff came later down the road. But in the very beginning, it was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. Like, I just want to
Right.
go more and more and more. Like, oh my
Yep.
God, I get to go to this bar and they're giving me all these free drinks. And then, you know, and then this girl that I never had a shot with is interested. And then, you know, and then these guys that were always too cool for me, they want to show me the coolest thing that their town has to offer, like, whoa, all right,
Yeah, sure.
I just became like the prom king,
Yeah.
and it was just, that was exciting and fun for sure in the beginning, and it was, I cannot just sit here and look at it like this all negative thing. It was such an amazing thing to basically be given the keys to the city, and anywhere you went, people were like, dude, we love Jackass, we love Viva La Bam. It's so, it reminds of our group of friends and all these other things, and like all these really nice things to hear. And people were telling you like, you inspired me to get a camera, and you inspired this, and then you're like, man, I'm pretty awesome, like, and yeah, I
Puffing
think
that ego up a little more, right?
yeah, exactly. Like part of it is trying to keep that in check. And there's part of times where it's out of check because you're just like, no, I'm so amazing.
Yeah.
But then, life has a funny way of showing you that you're not, and and leveling the playing field in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it was such an experience, I think, just in kind of growing as a person too, and you get to experience all those things. I got to travel the world like multiple times as a direct result of Jackass. And I had a recent sort of just overwhelming feeling of gratitude for Jackass when the new one came out. Like I said, I worked on it as a camera operator, and and then went and watched it. I had to miss the premiere out in LA because I'm here in Philly now, and I had a couple shoots that week, and it was just going to be too much to try to go out and do it. But I was definitely missing it because I saw everybody having a great time there, and it was like, and then and then I talked to my one buddy Lance Bangs, and he was like, oh man, it was so COVID restricted and all. He's like, it looks great on the photos, but it wasn't like the other ones that we've done. And I was like, okay. I was like, cool. At least that made me feel better for a moment because I went to the other ones and had a great time, and all Bad Grandpa was like, I think the last one that I was at that with the whole group of people. And it's just, it's fun. But when I went and watched the movie, I really did have that feeling of gratitude of like, oh my God, here we are 22 years later. And the adventure that Jackass sent me out on, 22 years ago, and everything that I've gotten to experience is a direct result of the success that show and that movie had. And like I said, it took me around the world a bunch of times. It showed me all these new kind of new things in life. And so it also gave me this idea, like, I'm a kid from Westchester, right? So I always felt like, all right, I guess I'll grow up and be a businessman like my dad did, and and whatever, and that's what you do. And all right, and I mean, I literally went to college for business finance, right up, like that's what I went in my freshman year, and was like, I guess that's what you do. And then when Jackass happened, it opened up my whole world to be like, no, you can do this creative thing for a living. And it was like, what? Like it just kind of was like mind blowing and just so eye opening to know that you could do that. And of course, in a sense, I always think about it like, we definitely stepped in shit, right? You have no idea that something's going to be successful.
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
that.
you didn't.
And it's just, there's a lot of luck involved in that, and right place, right time, and those things. And like they always talk about being prepared for opportunity, and for sure we were prepared for opportunity. Like we had filmed a bunch of this kind of stuff. This was our wheelhouse. This was the world we were creating, and MTV was interested in something like that. And I always talk about, like, I always got to take my hat off to Tom Green, man, because I feel like he paved the way. Even prior to that, Buzzkill was a show on MTV with Dave Sheridan that they did amazing stuff. And was sort of the precursor to what Jackass was. So, MTV had a taste in their mouth for that kind of stuff. And we happened to be there at the right time for that to happen. So I feel grateful for all of that. And then it did that. And then it showed me like, oh, you can do this. And really more than like, oh, it's just so easy to go be a guy on TV and whatever. It was more like, oh, I saw the camera guy. He was doing this too. He was traveling the world with me as I was being on a show, but he was enjoying it and experiencing all that too. And I was like, oh, well, that's like an actual job that doesn't depend on some networks saying, yes, we want you, no, we don't. That's an actual job where you can like work that job. So
right.
yeah, so like
a little bit healthier and safer lifestyle too, right?
Yeah. I've learned for sure, because, and even on the new one, dude, like there was this moment, and I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't seen it, I'll try not to blow it, but there was a bit where they were doing musical chairs and Knoxville kept faking them out and not hitting the button. And so Dave England got like super relaxed. And in the movie, and in the main thing, obviously what stuck out was that Wee Man got thrown and he flipped upside down, like off of the recliner chair, because it was these like explosion, like it was almost like airbags, like exploding and throwing you out of the chair. So when Wee Man hits, his was the best looking because it flipped him out of the chair, and like he went and landed in the middle, like all over this metal. It was like gnarly.
Jesus.
But then, but Dave England, like I felt like, because his didn't get enough attention because Wee Man's was so big and like crazy.
Yeah, he went flying.
But Dave, like he relaxed and just like, because Knoxville faked him out so bad so many times that he just thought he wasn't going to hit it. And that time he hit it and he relaxed and got like such bad whiplash. Like,
oh God,
boom, like threw off the thing. His neck like whipped back so hard. And I just remember Cossack like looking in his eyepiece and I'm in mine. And then Cossack just steps out and looks at me and goes, aren't you so glad you're behind the camera now? And I was like, dude. yes, I am way happier being back here.
Well, especially, dude, not for nothing, but our bodies are a little different. 22 years later, you could take something like that. And you're like, whiplash, what the hell is that? Let's go. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Now you're like, you're on your back later, for a week.
You're still like, I don't know, my spine's not working right.
Get to the chiropractor. Yeah, man, definitely. And that's kind of what Fuel is all about. So the Fuel podcast, we explore the foundations under extraordinary lives. And, your journey in life, it's certainly extraordinary. I mean, not everybody has the opportunity to be on a TV show, to kind of have that fame and that, all of the things that go with that at such a young age. So, but to understand that everybody's journey kind of leads them to where they are, and it kind of builds this foundation, that you kind of have, you don't recognize in the moment. It's like you didn't start making crazy ass videos to say, hey, you know what, 22 years from now, I'm gonna, be behind the camera and I'm gonna do all this cool stuff and have my own company. Like you just said, this is what I'm doing, and then and you just followed the journey that life took you on, and that's why I wanted to have you on. It's like, and to be able to recognize too that there was, we don't really dive deep into it, and we don't need to. I mean, you could get the idea of somebody that's in that environment, that's given money, that's, at a young age, just partying like a rock star. We've all seen the behind the scenes, VH1 behind this, but we get it. We know what you did, Chris. But it does take an awareness, and kind of like, even now I commend you, dude, for like, because you could still tap into that, that you could have been more involved in the other movies and the scene, and still respected your decision to stay sober and to do all of that, but you could have been more involved. But I think it takes a lot to be able to step back and say, you know what, I don't even want to be in the spotlight. I mean, I'm in control of not being able to drink or do whatever, because I've made this decision. But even more so than that, like, I don't even want to be in front of the camera. I mean, that had to be like I would think for most people to kind of to be removed from that would have to be a tough decision, because it's so intoxicating, right? To use your word, like you really takes a lot, I would think, to kind of make that decision.
Yeah. And, I think I can say that it was, it's partly made for you at times too. Like I had went and shopped shows and gotten into development and like tried to push on in front of the camera stuff. And when things start, like, because when I was very young, at 20, that everything that I was a part of or involved with, I was lucky that it had so many different elements of it. Like Johnny Knoxville was like, he's a hot stud, man. So he was definitely like, girls were all into him, and it really pushed the show and made it happen. And I happened to be a part of that thing. And there were so many cool elements to the show, and it really worked out. And then same thing, Viva La Bam. I think the collective of all of us really helped things go, and it worked, and we got, great ratings and all that stuff.
Sure.
And I think as time went, my thought was, all right, cool, I'm going to try to get a show. Ryan went and got a show after Viva La Bam and did Home Wreckers, and then he did Proving Ground. And so I had shows in development, and there was talks of me being like the host or kind of the main guy of it. And for whatever reason, they didn't go. There was 2 at that period in 2006, and then again in like 2009, 10, when I had another show in development, and it didn't go. And
how does that feel? I mean, it's like when you're like on top of the world, like no matter what you did, because you were kind of, involved with the right people, and there was such a buzz, like almost just invincible. Like, I got my show, and then you throw it out there, and it's like it doesn't go. I mean, what was that, like a reality check at all?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I definitely went deeper into my drugs and alcohol at that point. It got dark, and and I, and there was just a lot of depression, a lot of, it was a hard fall, in terms of, in terms of like, everything you do, people love, and then all of a sudden you're yesterday's news, and that's what I've learned over the course of all the years I've worked in the entertainment industry, is that that's just par for the course, man. That you're you're the flavor of the week this week, and then not next week, and then maybe the week after. So you never know. Like, it's sort of that
total
kind
roller
of peaks and
coaster
valley thing, and it's whether you can weather that storm. And for me, I think I'm sensitive, so it was hard to weather that storm. I think it was like when you all of a sudden, but I'll say this: when you do get a show into development, everyone's still stroking your ego. They're telling you how great you are the whole way, that they're basically setting you up to say no, but they're telling you you're so great. So you don't really, it's not like get out of here, kid, you're just no good for us. It's more like, oh my God, you're the greatest, and this and like all that. So you're still sort of believing that,
like a mind fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. So hard to really navigate and understand. And especially when you're in your 20s. I mean, you don't like, I don't even know, even now in your 40s, you're like, I don't know, but I think I might know a little more, but maybe not.
Sure.
But then when you're in your 20s, you think you know it all. You don't know shit. And then, in your 40s, you're like, oh, wow, I really don't know shit. But in terms of like, it's tough, like navigating that. And I think so some of it felt like, you get to these deep thoughts of like, I guess it's kind of the universe telling me it's over and it's time to move on. And it's coincidentally at a similar time where I was feeling that as well, just feeling like, and there was parts of me looking back, now where you feel like, well, maybe when I was selling those shows, they felt that, because I wasn't like, I was sort of having that like, not come to Jesus moment, but that sort of that epiphany in my life of like, I'm not sure this is really the direction I want to go. And I started
kind of help make that decision for you. Like,
and in a way you're like, maybe they sense that energy of just being like sort of not fully there. And I was drinking and drugging and stuff, so hard to get a hold of. And we were trying to film a pilot for one thing, and I was like so wasted. And like other people were like, oh, cool, this is like Raab. And then like I remember the one producer dude being like, no, this is annoying. And like,
right. Like,
it's like, this sucks. He's a mess,
right.
So there was those kind of things that were part of it, like part of the whole kind of decision. But once I did end up getting sober, it really kind of cleared up things for me in terms of what my interests were. And for sure it was to get behind the camera and start going in that direction, and still getting to be creative, but not necessarily having that pressure of like, dude, looks like you're getting a little fat, or whatever. Like that kind of stuff, like was difficult. You get all these body image things. You get all this like issues with whatever, and
Sure.
this people, and so like, so I just sort of kind of, I feel in a sense I made that decision, but I was also helped kind of, by the universe or whatever it was that
Yeah.
was shifting me in that direction. It helped me sort of make the right decisions that were more healthy, better decisions. And ultimately, yeah, it put me back in a spot where I got behind the camera and I got to experience the same life. And I got to be the dude I'm talking about that was on our show
Yeah.
that like, oh, I got to experience this life from this perspective. It's much more of a healthy thing. And but I'm still traveling and still doing really cool projects and being involved. And I was involved in the new Jackass and but behind the camera, and that was fun.
Awesome.
I got to experience all that just as much, but not like the price that comes along with like giving away your anonymity,
Yeah.
I it was actually fun when we went and saw the movie here in Westchester area. There was some kids that were like, whoa, Raab, and that was kind of, it was fun for me because I don't get that much anymore. And it was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
cool, it's neat, and they were like excited about it. And then I also like to go back to like just being the dude who walks in the grocery store and nobody knows who he is and whatever, like I like that.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, I was a big fan of the show. I mean, it was like growing
Yeah.
up. You watched all that stuff, the MTV stuff, the Sequel. Dude, it didn't click for me until like 3 or 4 of our shoots. I was like, wait a minute, Rab, cat, like the whole thing, and I
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
then I looked at your face again, and I was like, holy shit. I was like,
yeah,
so you do, you
yeah,
kind of,
yeah. Yeah,
definitely
kind of
have that like,
fade into the to the masses there, and it's like it's good just to kind of fade into the crowd.
yeah,
But like I said, what's been really neat is working in the business behind the camera. And then yeah, I when I moved back to this area, I lived in Los Angeles for a long time. So when I moved back to this area, probably it's about a year and a half ago now, and that was my decision, was like, well, look, there's not enough work happening here to just be doing camera work. So I
right,
had to sort of think in terms of how do I expand that. And what I did recognize is there's a lot of work for like corporate video, real estate stuff, and then little kind of one-off shoots here and there. I can do those, but I can also do this, and that's what inspired me to start my little production company, the Green Gate Entertainment, and that has been really cool because over the course of the last year and a half, I've just we've done some really cool stuff. We did a feature film, and it's called Afternooner, and it's like a comedy film. It's kind of an ode to the 90s comedies that like, the story is a guy, he owns like a bicycle rental shop on the beach in Santa Monica, and some his like arch nemesis is trying to open up a shop right next to his and put him out of business. So he's
okay.
trying to concoct a plan on how to make sure that guy doesn't get his business open and save his business and that stuff, and just a bunch of stupid things like making fun
Nice.
of all the stuff that's like, I guess hot topics in terms of however you can offend somebody. That's what we were doing,
Yeah.
and it was fun. It was fun to do, and that was neat. As the Harrow brothers, they're the guys that wrote and directed it. Our company came in and helped produce it, and that was neat. And then we've done some music videos throughout the year too. And then, like I said, with your stuff, being able to also come in as a third party and shoot financing the American dream, and so it's just been neat to kind of get into that, and I have opportunity for doing the corporate stuff, doing the real estates, all these other things that pay the bills, and then I also have opportunity to do some of the passion projects like the films and the music videos and things, and they're as I keep working on it, they're becoming more and more, and they're happening more frequently. Where in the beginning it was like, yeah, well, real estate and corporate, there's a high demand for that, so I'm getting more of those jobs.
Sure.
And then as bands see some of the work that we've done, then they go, okay, we want to have you shoot ours, and we'll
Right.
shoot music videos. And it was funny because I wasn't even sure there was still a market for music video, but the people are shooting them
Yeah.
all the time and doing it, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize it's still a thing. I thought, back
Yeah.
back when MTV decided to no longer be music television, they I thought that was
Yeah.
it.
Now they
Yeah.
just put it out through a different media, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's cool, man. It's awesome to see like such a diverse, I guess it's as you get older and more mature, like I mean, working together, shooting, real estate mortgage stuff sounds pretty lame compared to like being on Jackass, the movie. But to have
Not
that, like,
really, dude. We were in that tiny little plane flying around
yeah,
Philadelphia. I was
well,
more scared of that than any of it.
that was so awesome. So I mean, if anybody's watched the Jackass stuff, I mean, you've seen Chris and Bam and Steve-O, all these guys just do outrageous shit, totally outrageous. And I'm like, here we are, we're doing this corporate video, right? Kind of thing. And we're like, oh, we're going to go up in this little, 4-seater plane and do this. I'm like, Chris, you're cool with that, right? He's like, I don't like those planes. Like this is like
I was like,
the
it's all like this is the beginning of the Buddy Holly story.
yeah.
Like,
He's
no,
like thinking
man.
Obama, and he's like, dude. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is like you're the guy that like you guys were literally So it was pretty funny when we did do that.
Yeah,
But no,
I know it's amazing how like your mindset changes too, because I'm a dad now too, and you're like, I can't be
100%.
taking these risks, I can't be doing this, like,
Yeah.
and but at the same time, there's that part of me that's like, all right, whatever, just get over it, get up in the plane like you little bitch, and just do what you gotta do,
Yeah.
like, and then ultimately it was a really fun experience to get up there and fly around, and like, I mean, it did feel like we were just sitting on a chair in the sky.
Yeah, well, dude, that was the first time in a plane that small myself as well. And
Yeah, but it was,
as you know,
and honestly, the pilot Jonathan was like incredible. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
totally knows his stuff so well that I felt very, very safe and accounted for. And like that was kind of my questions to you about it, was like, who is this dude and how many hours has he got?
Right.
And then, once I, got a feel for that.
I think he sent out like a homemade safety video.
Yeah.
Like, at that
just
point,
his level of detail was really like, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah. It's not, Knoxville's not flying the plane.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, no, Raab, I got it. Just get in.
Nah, I've seen this one before. No,
yeah. So, well, dude, it's been awesome having you on. I know you're doing a lot of other things too. You've got the Hope for Today nonprofit, so we're gonna give a shout out and a quick plug for what you're doing with that.
Yeah, it's actually a good reminder that I need to get more, just be hustling more on that. Honestly, when the pandemic happened, it sort of shut us down from travel out there, but what we were doing is at least a couple times a year traveling out to Haiti, and specifically Montouil, Saint Marc, and Ransamble are the areas that we have connected really closely with some of the locals, and just help kind of with some of the projects that are needed in those areas. And it's been such a rewarding thing to be a part of. And I always say, like, I don't like to be that guy that's like, hey, I just came down from my cushy little life, and now, man, I gotta do something, like that whole like, oh, but honestly, I did what happened was I went down with a project to shoot a documentary in Haiti, and the place just captured kind of my soul, like my spirit. It was like when I met some of our friends there that have become our friends now, are just the sweetest people, and such positive outlooks on life, in spite of some of the difficulties that have been sent their way. They just have an incredible spirit and ability to push through difficult stuff. And so it inspired me to want to go down there and do some trips down. And I've done multiple trips, and we've been able to kind of help with some major projects. We've done with sanitation stuff. We've built some bathrooms, and we've also done some irrigation stuff with them. But the real thing I'd like to say is that what I find is that their resilience and what they're able to accomplish on their own is what's amazing. So I look at it as, oh yeah, I'll come out here and raise some funds and organize some stuff and do some things and do that. But really what happens is our local leaders in those areas, they head up the projects, and you'll see that just with the littlest amount of resources, they're able
Right.
to do incredible things. And I remember there was one moment I came back a year after we had kind of headed up this project for an irrigation system. I came back a year later, and when I was there the year before, it was this completely like, desolate field. It was all like dried up like dirt, and like it didn't look like it was able to be irrigated or anything. So
Jeez.
we got fire hoses from the Philadelphia Fire Company, like a fire company in Philadelphia, and they gave us a bunch of old hoses, got some PVC pipe, got this water pump thing, and they built this huge irrigation system down there where they poked holes into the fire hoses, and that was able to put water over the whole field and stuff. And when I came back, it was almost about 9 months or so later, they were like, "Hey, we want to show you, And I walk up over the hill, man, and the entire field, like the
Nice.
whole thing was just covered in like tomatoes and bananas and plantains and all this. And it was like, it like choked me up because it was just incredible to go, just this little bit that we were able to pull together, they were able to turn it into something huge.
Huge.
And to see that, and to see how people come together. And then they also were lending the irrigation system to neighboring towns. So it was like just the spirit and the
A little
love
like
for each other
micro,
there.
like
Yeah,
economic system they created.
yeah, it's
Fun little
awesome.
thing.
And so all that stuff down there has just been so inspiring. And that's our little nonprofit, Hope for Today. It's hope the number 4 today.org. And yeah, we have some cool projects going down there. We're trying to get some funds together now for building a secondary school in Ensemble, because right now they have like an elementary school that's basically like K-5. And then after the kids are like 11, 12 years old, they're supposed to go down to St. Mark for the school there, but it's a real far walk. And sometimes when it's raining, they just bail. And a lot of kids just end up not going. And so that was the thing with our buddy Wilson Louis down there. His dream is to be able to get that school. And we're like, if we can get, I think we only just got to get like 30 grand together, we can get this school put together. And it's, pretty simple, but something so that these kids that from the age of 12 to 18 can actually have some education. So that's the focus that we're focusing on now.
Awesome, man. We'll definitely have to connect up and, see if we can't help. We'll get the link out there once the podcast goes live. Also, one of our guests on Fuel, Ryan Stackhouse, who's doing amazing things. He does some trips like that down to Haiti and different places. So
Nice.
maybe hook you and Ryan up too. And
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
that'd be great to connect.
Cool, man. So, I think we unpacked a lot here, and it's been awesome. If people want to connect with you, on the film side, and want to look into your work and what you do, or just connect with you otherwise, what's the best way to find you?
Well, our video company, our video production company is greengateentertainment.com. And then, like I said, hopefortoday.org is the nonprofit. And then social media stuff, I sort of don't do it much, but I have accounts. At Raab _ himself on Instagram is one that I have. And then, yeah, that's probably the only one that I'll go on once in a while, because I like to look at those memes, man. I swear to God, people are hilarious, and whatever like memes they put together are just
yeah.
But that's about as much social media as I do. I try to avoid the.
You've successfully faded behind the scenes, Raab.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome, dude. Well, one of the other things too, real quick, to before we let you roll here, is we do a little thing. Basically, I'm going to throw a rapid fire at you. 3 quick questions. And basically, what we're going to do is, you're stuck on an island. All right. You're not getting off the island. Not happening. So we're going to give you 3 questions, just fun questions. First one, we're going to throw the disclaimer out there. We know, given the choice, you'd bring your friends, your family, kids. So we know that. But outside of those choices, you got one person, you're stuck on this island. Who is Raab taking with him?
You're saying outside of friends and family?
Like immediate family. So that like, hey, if you don't bring mom, she's not going to be pissed, right? So we know mom.
Yeah,
We know
my
mom
mom would probably rather have a break from me, so she's like,
yeah,
go on
yeah.
that
So
island
like,
yourself.
but I guess we're not going to exclude friends because you got some pretty fucking cool friends. So we'll leave that there. And so outside of family members, and of course, your kids and whatnot.
Dude, I mean, I feel like he's not my friend, but wouldn't you want to have Bear Grylls with you? Like, I would be like, I want to take that guy so he can just figure out all that shit, and I can go like swimming.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, nice, dude. That's awesome. Second question is, what's a book that you've read that's had an impact on your life that anybody listening might take a little something away from?
I don't read, Chris. No,
or audiobook or short
yeah.
film for the for the video guy.
Let's see. In terms of book, I mean, the Four Agreements is a book, I think. Was it Miguel Ruiz? That's pretty impactful.
Okay, cool.
I think that's a good one.
All right.
Just off the top of my head.
Yeah, definitely. And then last question is just fun. You're stuck on the island. What do you have to have as far as your favorite food, guilty pleasure, snack? Like, you got to have this thing shipped in. It's got to be there.
I think favorite food and guilty pleasure are totally two different things.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I say, I got to keep it politically correct. I better be quiet. Let's see. Favorite food. I mean, if I would say a genre of food, obviously on an island, it would work well because seafood I love.
Sushi.
But yeah. Can I bring a little Japanese man with me to make me the sushi? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you're just saying one thing, or you're saying food?
If just like, dude, I gotta have a cheesesteak. I gotta have gummy bears. I gotta have like something silly stupid that Raab has to have. That's like, goofy.
I mean, I gotta say burgers, right? I mean, I feel like that's like my go-to. It's just like, I'm embarrassed, but I eat so many burgers.
Yeah. Nice. So we're getting like, gourmet burgers all over.
Oh yeah.
In-N-Out burger, all the
dude, and that's a good discussion about it too, because In-N-Out burger is awesome. But out in LA, there's a place called The Habit, and that burger is so good too. And it's about the same. Like, I mean, it's all you're right. You might get an argument over that, but for me personally, I like The Habit better just because the burger's a little thicker. It's not as fast foody. It is fast food for sure, but it's not as fast foody as the In-N-Out.
It's like the Chick-fil-A of fast food. Like I always say, Chick-fil-A is not really fast food. That's good. Like, it's fast food.
Yes.
Awesome, dude. Well, I know where we're going after our next shoot, dude. We're gonna find the best burger joint in town. And, my treat.
Awesome.
So, awesome, man. Yeah. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. For everybody listening, if you got something out of this, we ask that you share it on social. If you're listening on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. And on that note, we're out.
All right. Later.